Good afternoon. Welcome back to Millennial Knowledge. In this article, Trump faces the barrel of impeachment. The House of Representatives is set to impeach an elected president accused of violating the nation's trust and oath to preserve, protect, and defend bedrock constitutional values. Donald Trump will be only the third president in 240 years to be impeached. The ultimate trauma for the system of checks and balances, which will unleash fury that will boil for years. The 45th president will be charged by the House Democratic majority with two articles of impeachment, namely abusing his power and obstructing Congress in a scheme to lure Ukraine into interfering in the 2020 elections. In Trump's tumultuous presidency, the extreme has become routine, and hyper-partisanship has blurred the senses. But when the House votes to impeach Trump, a fateful step expected at some point Wednesday, it may become clear that this is also a somber moment of national political tragedy. After all, the House Democrats, who won a majority in the midterm elections on a mandate of curtailing Trump, will be making a rare statement that a president-elect just 3 years ago should be forced from office. Trump raged into his day of historic shame unrepentant after saying he takes zero responsibility for impeachment and feeling persecuted. He unleashes a fearsome attack on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the other Democrats in an extraordinary letter that expressed something like despair about the fate of his legacy. You are the ones obstructing justice. You are the ones bringing pain and suffering to our republic for your own selfish, personal, political, and partisan gain, Trump wrote, accusing Democrats of the very offenses of which he is accused. Side note off of this article, just so we're all clear, I believe both parties are right in what they say. Trump is dirty, just not in the way the Democrats are trying to make him dirty. He's dirty in different ways, but not in this Ukraine stupid stuff. And the only reason they're doing all this is because the Democrats have been doing exactly what they're charging Trump with. They obstruct Congress. They do whatever they want. They had 8 years to do whatever they want under Obama. That's why the FBI wanted to force Hillary in. That's why all of these people wanted to force Hillary in. Because they wanted to be status quo in Ukraine and everywhere else instead of whatever Trump wants to do. But back to this article. Pelosi described Trump's tirade as really sick. Trump's impeachment has become about more than the misbehavior of a president and the Democratic claim that his actions reached the constitutional bar of high crimes and misdemeanors. In retrospect, it might have been an inevitable constitutional collision given his belief in his own ultimate power and his disrespect for any conventional notions of presidential discretion. Factors and evidence right from the start of the Property Branding Titans 2016 campaign, which turned U.S. politics on its head. Side note number 2, before we get back to this article. I am happy Trump turned U.S. politics on its head because it has shown all the stupid people, including myself. I was part of this stupid group of Americans and just people in general that believed the government, believed just about whatever they said. Now, I'm not saying I don't believe not anything they say. There's truths that they say, and then there's lies that they say. It's hard to tell because the media doesn't tell you the truth. You have to sift through tens of articles to get a consensus of what happened with something. It's most of the time just too tiring to deal with. But back to the article. The impeachment crisis is also a symptom of a country caught in a massive political estrangement that is tearing apart any sense of common patriotic purpose. It has exposed a political culture in which the facts, in this case of the president's actions, are no longer sacrosanct, and that has been laced with a fog of misinformation by its allies. The same can be said for the Democrats. The ill feelings and controversy stirred in recent weeks ultimately by the actions of the most divisive President and House of Representatives in history will reverberate long after he's left office and possibly while most of the people in the House are still serving, because there's no term limits on these people. America is as split on impeachment as it is on everything else. A CNN poll of polls shows that 46% believe Trump should be impeached and removed from office, while 49% do not. Wednesday's vote, for which Democrats are confident they have a strong majority, has prompted heart-searching among vulnerable representatives seeking re-election in districts where Trump won big in 2016. Quote, "This is not something you can do based on polls," said moderate Democrat Rep. Elisa Slotkin of Michigan. "The voters will have a chance to decide next year." "I'm not compromising my integrity," said Slotkin, who intends to vote for impeachment. An already bitter feud is stirring in the Republican-led Senate ahead of a trial early next year, expected to fall well short of the two-thirds majority needed for Congress to oust the president for the first time. But there may be moments of hope on Wednesday too, as the ancient mechanism of America's democratic experiment swings into action, prove that no man is a king dwelling above the law. Side note number 3, I'm starting to regret using this article because I have to do too many side notes because I disagree with too much of this. But this, yeah, back to it. I don't know. Trump's defiance is a sign that once acquitted by the Senate, he is likely to become even more unchained and to treat his escape as vindication. One sign of that is that the way in which his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, has just returned from Ukraine after carrying on the very activity, digging for dirt on former Vice President and potential 2020 rival Joe Biden, that led his client to the brink of impeachment. Pelosi, who once warned that the president was self-impeaching, long resisted using her most consequential power to call Trump to account, arguing that he was not worth it. But pressure from political allies and an imperative to defend the Constitution became unassailable after news emerged in September of Trump's backdoor diplomacy in Ukraine. Democrats amassed a detailed record built upon testimony from career foreign policy officials in the administration of a prolonged effort by Trump to use the power of his office not for America's interest, but for personal political gain. Specifically, Trump is accused of withholding $400 million in military aid and in the prospect of an Oval Office visit from new Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to coerce him into announcing an investigation into Biden and his son Hunter's business dealings within the country. Side note, Trump released the money the next day, I believe, after this phone call happened. I don't know why it's not in the article. Well, the decision by the former vice president's son to accept a paid role on the board of Burisma, a Ukrainian energy giant, while his father was in office is ethically questionable. There is no evidence of wrongdoing by either Biden until the investigation has been completed. Witnesses called by Democrats testified that Trump did demand a quid pro quo from Ukraine and that he was orchestrating the scheme. A rough transcript of his call with Zelensky in July, which the president insists was perfect, shows Trump asking for a favor, including an investigation into Biden, a conspiracy theory that Ukraine interfered in the 2016 election. But in the same transcript that this article fails to admit was in the transcript is that Trump was specifically asked what he wants. He says he wants nothing. He wants Zelensky to do what he ran on. And for those who don't know, Zelensky ran on getting rid of the corruption in Ukraine. Because as a 26-year-old, all my life, Ukraine has been corrupt. America probably has too. That's a whole different whole thing. It's a whole different thing. Acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney appeared to confirm the quid pro quo, telling reporters to "get over it," and Trump called on Ukraine publicly to investigate the Bidens. For Democrats, such behavior validated impeachment because it confirmed the fears of the country's founders that a rogue demagogue president could incite foreign interference in U.S. democracy. Quote, his scheme to corrupt an American presidential election subordinated the democratic sovereignty of the people to the private political ambitions of one man, the president himself, said Rep. Jamie Raskins of Maryland at a House Rules Committee hearing Tuesday. Second, after the corrupt scheme came to light and the numerous public servants with knowledge of key events surfaced to testify in our committee investigations about the president's actions, President Trump directed the wholesale, categorically and indiscriminate obstruction of this congressional impeachment investigation. For Democrats, the question was, if this is not impeachable, what is? Well, I can answer that. Something that has evidence of going on. From the start, Republicans struggled to counter the facts of impeachment case, not least because Trump appeared several times to confirm the Democratic accusations against him. Instead, the GOP in the House set out to attack the process, accusing Democrats of abusing their power themselves and inventing Trump's abuses of authority to fulfill their dreams of destroying a president they had never forgiven for beating Hillary Clinton. Quote, we're in a kangaroo court. It feels like in this place, because all of this is backwards, Rep. Doug Collins, the top Republican on the House Judiciary Committee, said Tuesday. We're more Alice in Wonderland than we are House of Representatives, because whether you agree that he needs to be impeached or not, do you think there needs to be a modicum of process and rights, Collins said. Despite the pleadings of one key witness for them not to recycle Russian propaganda, former National Security Council Russia Policy Chief Fiona Hill, several prominent Republicans highlighted claims that Ukraine had meddled in the 2016 election to hurt Trump. While several officials from Kyiv criticized Trump, there is no evidence that Ukraine participated in anything like the massive Russian intelligence and misinformation operation that U.S. spy agencies say was designed to help Trump win the presidency. Republicans also accused Democrats of failing to glean testimony from key witnesses, even though officials like former National Security Advisor John Bolton and Mulvaney were barred from showing up by Trump in a sweeping immunity claim. Democrats declined to litigate to compel testimony, arguing that court action could take many months and Trump posed a clear and present danger to U.S. security and the 2020 election. Republicans, supported by the right-wing media propaganda machine, have also claimed that the abuse of power is not a specific crime and it is not therefore an impeachable offense. They argue that Trump asked Zelensky in the call to do us a favor, as in the United States, rather than seeking personal gain. But they have not explained how investigating a 2016 conspiracy theory for one of his political opponents represents a compelling U.S. national interest. Holy fucking shit. I've read this a couple times and I have the same reaction every fucking time I read that. A conspiracy theory that Joe Biden withheld fucking $1 billion of military aid This money that we were withholding was humanitarian aid, which I would say is worth a lot more than military aid, but that I digress. Joe Biden is on fucking film. Fucking look it up on another YouTube channel. Fucking he's on tape bragging about how, oh, if you don't fire this prosecutor and well, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If you don't fire him in 6 hours, then you're not getting the money. Oh, well, you don't think I can do that? Call the president. He's gonna back up whatever the fuck I say, 'cause I'm Joe fucking Biden. Like, that pisses me off. Every single time I read something like this, it's like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. I would say, fine, you can think that, and until I fucking saw that, like, when fucking Trump posted it, and it was confirmed that it was a real fucking video, that Joe Biden was, what I forget where it was, but he was on stage with two other motherfuckers in a suit at somewhere like Politicon or Turning Point USA type of shit. Not those things, but something like that. And he's like, "Yep, you ain't getting your shit unless that prosecutor's fired." And they try and say the prosecutor's dirty. How is he dirty? He was investigating you and your son's company, and when everyone already knew that Burisma was dirty. Okay. Trump's refusal to admit any transgression has deprived Republicans of the political cover of the defense that saved President Bill Clinton 20 years ago, that his actions were lamentable but did not rise to the level of impeachment. With Bill Clinton, no one fucking cares that he got a blowjob in the Oval Office. Actually, I'll take that back. That's hyperbolic. There's some people that care, because there's the goody-goody people, no fun. I'm sorry. Most of us who become president, if we could get a blowjob or have sex in the Oval Office, you're damn fucking right we're going to. Even women would. Why? Because you get to say you had sex in the Oval Office. It's like the Mile High Club. Yeah, come on, be real.